The great thing about Iceland is, it's the place where ice and fire meet. So you get this contrast of huge frozen glaciers like Vatnajökull, largest glacier in Europe, which you've got recordings of, where I used a hydrophone, but used it actually as a geophone. So it's I dropped it down an ice crevasse, so it's wedged. So that the hydrophone, which is normally used in water, is trapped by frozen water, freshwater ice. And what you hear is that vibration and grinding sound as the glacier just shifts. Fractionally, maybe a few millimeters over a couple of days. So I left it wedged there and recorded that. And that was right on the summit of Iceland, near a famous place called the Ice Caves at Kverkfell, right in the centre of Iceland. So that's where some of those tracks start. And then I followed the glacier down. It flows to the north and south, and I followed it south to a place called Jökulsárlón, which is the famous Blue Lagoon. Shot some of the James Bond scenes, where the glacier carves into the sea. So it starts to break up. So I got all those fractured sounds of ice shifting and breaking, and then slowly merging with the tidal seawater. So the glacier carves and fresh water becomes seawater. So it sort of completes the cycle. There's a whole range of recordings over about the past 10 years actually. It's time intensive, and it's because I'd never done this before. It was a steep learning curve. So I go there and listen and try a few things, and it's very seasonal. So then I might not go back for a year, or I might be back there 6 months later and try a different technique until I found something that worked. And that was the best method, using the hydrophones as geophones. I then went into places like the ice caves, where some of the water sounds come from, because they're amazing places. They're a really hostile environment, because these are bubbles. The caves, they're ice caves, but they're created by gas going into the glacier and melting a hole. So you have these gas-filled rooms under the glacier, which is full of running water because it's melting the glacier from inside, and sort of dripping water. And it has this sort of cathedral-like acoustic, and very hostile because they're full of sulfurous gases. And also, it's like a Salvador Dali painting. They're constantly changing shape, the transients. So you go into these spaces which from one day to the next will change shape and size. But it's right underneath the lip of the glacier. Really remarkable place, and again somewhere where you can't spend too long. It's like a 10 or 15 minute experience. Then you have to get out because there's some quite volatile and poisonous gases in there. I think when I go recording, I have to take advantage of wherever I am, whether it's there for a film trip or a radio program or my own work. I funded my own trips, or for a CD or something like that. Then I go and I spend as much time on location as I can, but it can take several trips over a few years to fine-tune what I'm doing, and Iceland in particular. But also I think because there's so much variety, the water tracks are, the running water and the hot water and the boiling water, which is the other part of Iceland, fire in Iceland. These steaming hot vents where there's superheated steam and gases, vapour-filled gases sort of exploding out of the Earth's crust. So it's a really exciting place to go. I'm looking forward to going back this week, actually. So there's a whole range and variety of tracks, at different temperatures at different times of the year, which really reflect the sound of that landscape, which is why it's nice to put them all together in this piece. Pancake ice is one of the most remarkable things I've seen, and that was recorded much further north than Iceland, Svalbard, the archipelago, which is claimed by Norway, 80 degrees north, just 10 degrees south of the North Pole. And I was there in April, I was trying to record walrus underneath the surface with some hydrophones by Longyearbyen Harbour, the old harbour. And it was relatively shallow water. And as I watched, it was like this dream sequence. I saw on the incoming tide water swirling in over the sand and rocks. And then right in front of me it became viscous. And then as I was watching it, it went a bit, this is seawater, quite milky, and then just stopped. The water stopped, and then over about 5 minutes, colorized itself and then formed this shape like a giant pancake and was then solid, just on the surface. And then the next push would come in from the incoming tide and break it up, and as soon as it broke up, it would melt. But then as soon as the water remained still, it would start to form again. And it was right up this, it was happening within a few centimetres of my hydrophones. So I could see this pancake ice form within centimetres of the hydrophone, and that's what you can hear. The process of seawater transforming from a liquid into a solid. An amazing experience. And it's really dreamlike, because you could see it in real time. So that, seawater freezes, I think, at minus 1.86 degrees centigrade. You could actually, to witness this process was a magical experience. If our planet has a signature sound of wildlife, or the sound of this planet, then it's the sound of pistol shrimps. Because I've recorded these animals in every ocean. The first time I recorded this is off the harbour wall into deep water off the coast of Húsavík, which is on the north coast of Iceland. And what you hear is this typical snap, crackle and pop of pistol shrimps. Pistol shrimps are a whole family of animals, and there's lots of species within the group, but they have asymmetric claws. So one claws, and these animals are about 2 centimetres long, 2 or 3 centimetres long. One of them has a regular sized claw, one side is regular, and the other one is this giant claw that they use for defence. But they also keep it open, and then when a passing tasty morsel swims by, they snap this giant claw shut, and it closes so quickly it creates cavitation under the surface of the water. It creates a vacuum into which water collapses into the vacuum and creates this massive bang. So these animals are using sound as a weapon, and that sound is so loud either stuns or kills their prey at very short range, within a few centimetres. And they also use it for signalling and communicating with. But when you're in an area where there's pistol shrimps, and they're in most oceans of the world, you hear this incredible curtain of crackling sounds, because it travels a very long way. And that's what it is. And I've recorded that, as I said, from the Arctic to the Antarctic. It's the most numerous and voluminous sound I've recorded in the oceans.